Hey, how's it going today? Today I'm going to be doing a video on terrains, how to import a terrain when you have one terrain, how to make sure it comes in correctly, how to merge multiple terrains together, and how to do a couple quick edits in the event that you need to. All right, let's jump right in. Okay, the first thing you want to do is just create a new file. And when you're going to be putting a terrain in it, you want to make sure that your seed is a 3D seed. I'm going to change this to 3D seed here. I'm going to drop this on my desktop. Just call it terrain 1. Okay, most of our files now are still using a DTM, which is an old style digital terrain model from InRoads. And then we import that into a new OpenRoads file. So to do that, you click on this terrain tab, make sure you're in OpenRoads modeling from file. And I can actually go pretty deep here with this folder structure. Now, this is one of the issues I would say I find most often is when something has a super long folder path, sometimes it doesn't work. So I just be a little bit careful about that. Make sure you're on DTM here and then hit done. And now this import terrain model will show up. Usually I just click on the feature definition, can change this, but I usually like existing boundary or existing contours. Can change it later if you need to. Source files, I would just leave all these as defaults. It's not going to bring in anything special. And I usually import terrain only. And then the coordinate system is only really if you're reprojecting your data. So I'm going to hit import here. And it looks like it did bring in everything correctly. Okay, so this is multiple terrains that are merged together. If I had a problem and it didn't come in correctly, let me go to my Explorer tab here. I'm going to go to my OpenRoads model, my terrain model, existing contours. Say I don't like this one. I'll right click on it, delete, click on from file. And now sometimes what I'll do is I'll take that DTM file, I'll actually save it onto my desktop so that there's a very short path to get to it. And I'm actually going to bring in a different one here. I'm going to click on this Rosa Parks one, hit done. Same thing, just leave this as existing contours, import terrain only, and hit import. Okay, and I double tapped my middle mouse button, same thing as hitting this fit view. Okay, so now this file is ready to go. If I wanted to import this into another file, what I would do is create a new file. And this time I'm going to want to have it be a 2D seed. Switch to my 2D seed here. I'm going to call this prove 1. And now I'm going to reference in that terrain file. So go to my home tab, attach tools, click on this, and there's my terrain file that I just did before. I'm going to hit open, hit coincident world, and you can see the model's default. There's only one in there, which is that 3D seed. Coincident world. I'm going to hit OK. I shouldn't need any nesting for this. And now, same as before, click on fit view. And that, once I activate my terrain by clicking on it and set as active terrain, now that's the active terrain in my file. Maybe I want to draw in a line. Click on that, click on my feature definition, center line alignment, go to my geometry. I'm just going to do a simple line here. Okay, so now I could, if I wanted to show the profile view, because my terrain is activated, it will show up. Maybe I want to look at my view in 3D. Maybe I want to grab the data from that terrain and drop it onto here. Click on my geometry. I'm going to do a vertical profile creation, create profile from surface. And I'm going to click on that, reset for active terrain, which is that one. Click on that, and distance, point selection, adjustment none, horizontal offset none, vertical offset none. Okay, so you can now see I have my vertical profile drawn in here. All right, let's go back to my terrain file. I'm going to close this file. I'm now going to create a different terrain file which has multiple terrains in it. I'm going to show you how to merge them together. I'm going to show you how to do a couple quick edits. So I'm going to call this terrain multi. Okay, so I'm going to go back to my terrain tab from file, and I'm in that one on my desktop here. I'm going to bring in all 4 of these. I'm going to hit done. So I'm going to bring all 4 of them in together. Same feature definition for all of them. I'm going to hit import. Now I'm going to view fit view again. You can see I got one here, one here, one here, and one here. So 4 different terrains in my file. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to basically make a new terrain that is going to have all of these referenced or merged together. So I'm going to do terrain, and then this time I'm going to do additional methods. I'm going to create a complex terrain model. Just like I complex or join multiple line strings together to make a complex line, I get a complex terrain model. And I'm going to just highlight all these, Click add on here. So in this example, there really shouldn't be much difference between this merge and append data. The merge and append is basically going to treat data that's overlapping differently. If you have the merge together, you can see it's just going to take whichever one you have on top. If you have append, it's going to join them together. But in my case here, none of my data is really overlapping each other, so I don't really need to worry about that. Probably you're going to want to do the merge in most cases. I'm going to need to set a feature definition. I normally would do existing contours again, but in this case, I'm going to do existing triangles just so the data looks different. And I'm going to call this EG merge. So I know that all the existing data is merged. Finish. Okay, so you can see this is my new terrain on top of my old terrain. So the first thing I want to do is I want to disconnect the EG merge from my 4 existing terrains. So to do that, I'm going to click on my Explorer view here. You can see existing contours. Here's the 4 of them in here. It sorts them by feature definition. You can see they're all linking to each other. There's a couple of different ways I could do this. I could manually come in here, detach source from model. I could do that individually for each of these. And then I would also have to remove the rule. The fastest way for me to do this is just to right click on this, go to rules, and go to remove rules. Basically, these 4 different surfaces or terrains are all added in as a ruled to each other. So now that I did that, you can see there's nothing underneath this, but my terrain is still there. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to manually click on these and delete them. So now I have my one terrain all linked together. And now I'm going to click on it and change it to a feature definition that I like. Instead of existing triangles, let's switch to existing contours. There we go. Okay, so am I done? Well, I don't really like the way these boundaries are all set up, so I would say no. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to click on this again, click on my properties tab here, and this is where I can change a couple of the options. So I'm going to click on this, and you see there's a thing in here called edge method. The first option is none, which basically doesn't do any sort of boundary. Next is sliver, and then another one is called max edge length. And this gives you a little bit more control about how you can adjust these. If I make this 1 foot, see how it's going to bring that in. It's probably actually not what I want. If I make this 1,000, also not really what I want. Probably want this more in the 100 or 50 range. Honestly, it's really not perfect. I want to bring in my survey data behind this so I can see exactly where the surface should lie. What I'm going to do is I'm actually going to bring in those 4 different surfaces again, and this time I'm going to bring them in with a different feature definition. Okay, so now I have my EG merge, and you can see where my boundary is. So I could try to line this up a little bit better, but it's not going to be perfect, right? So how do I really dial that in? What's the best way to do that? Under the terrain bar, you can click on boundary options and hit add boundary. So right now it's asking me for locate the terrain model. So I want the EG merge, and it's asking me for a ruled boundary, extract graphic, or a regular boundary. I'm going to click on the ruled boundary, left click, and now it's actually giving me points where if I want to bring in and move, I can actually manually move the boundary however I want. Additionally, I can also insert a vertex if I want to create more, or remove vertices if I want to do that. So I have a lot of power here if I want to make this look however I want. In addition, I can also make this in here super skinny if I really don't like it being too wide. So that's what I would recommend. And then once you're done with all those extra terrains, come back to your Explorer, and I'm just going to go ahead and right click, manually delete all 4 of these. I'm left with my EG merge, and then under the 3D linear elements, there is a break line which is being used as the boundary. Now, if I've right-clicked on my terrain, I can see that method, another method showed up from boundary that wasn't there previously. So when you add the boundary, it works that way. All right, I hope you found this really helpful, and you can go about making your terrains for your OpenRoads modeling. Thank you so much. Have a great day.